Sticking with Facebook, it is one of several companies today, including Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, that are limiting the content of far-right podcast Infowars and the face of that company, Alex Jones. Now, this, of course, is part of a larger issue in technology, but is this form of self-regulation a smart move, or are they headed down a slippery slope? Joining us right now to talk about it, Scott Galloway is founder of L2. He's professor at the NYU Stern School of Business, and Tony Romm is tech policy reporter for the Washington Post. Good to see you both. Thanks for joining us. So many directions we could go here. But Tony, do you think we're heading to a portion now where we're going to see more self-regulation by these tech platforms here?
Well, these companies are under a great deal of pressure to police the kind of content that appears on their sites and services. You know, it's been months now that we've heard from lawmakers on Capitol Hill and from experts elsewhere that Facebook and others had to do something about Infowars, where Alex Jones sometimes has posted content that's criticized the victims of the Sandy Hook shooting and has said controversial things about women and immigrants and other kinds of minorities. We finally saw those companies begin to take action today. But the question here isn't just whether companies are going to begin to regulate themselves more, it's what lawmakers might do in response. And there's been this push on Capitol Hill recently to force companies through law to change the way they moderate their platforms. And
Scott, to this point, there have been critics of Facebook saying that they have been muting conservative voices by removing some of the pages that they have done. So, you know, again, back to the self-regulation question and whether they're getting themselves into deeper waters than they anticipate, especially politically here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think self-regulation is pretty generous. I mean, I think most conservatives would not want to be associated with this type of content in any way. So, you know, the bottom line is tobacco companies were never able to make the connection between tobacco and cancer. The NRA has trouble connecting assault rifle sales and mass shootings of kids, and social media platforms and big tech in general is going to have a difficult time connecting the dots between unfettered growth of advertisers and content and negative outcomes. So it's absolutely time for regulation. And you know, this is unfolding as the perfect crisis management for Apple and the perfect crisis management case study of not what to do by Facebook. Facebook was sort of shamed into this today. So Apple gets all the credit here. They get another feather in their cap, and Facebook continues to sort of step in it.
Tony, what about Twitter? I believe Twitter is maybe one of the only platforms standing, unless I'm wrong, in the last 2 hours that's still supporting Infowars and Alex Jones, at least offering him a platform to speak and share whatever it is that he's saying. I mean, is that going to be a problem for Twitter if you're the last man standing, so to speak, and allowing speech like this?
Yeah, right now, as far as I know from sitting here, Infowars is still available on Twitter.com. We've seen YouTube take action. Facebook has taken action, Apple and Spotify. Even Pinterest reportedly has taken action against Infowars, but Twitter so far hasn't said anything. But I think that raising Twitter brings up another point entirely, which is that Infowars is still available on the web. That's one of the things that these companies have to combat. It's that you might take them off of one platform, but they're likely to spring up elsewhere. Consumers can still go after and get that content. And Jack Dorsey in particular, whether or not Twitter does take down Infowars and its account, is likely to face more scrutiny from those on Capitol Hill and elsewhere who just think that the company has been unfair in its dealing with conservatives and their news and views. So it's really a catch-22 for some of these companies. They're under pressure to do something about the content that appears there, but sometimes when they go too far, they get hit from lawmakers.
Scott, how would you write a law that would address this? What would it do?
Laws are already on the books. They should be treated as if they were media companies, which they are, and be liable for content that is slanderous or does severe economic harm. They should be subject to the same scrutiny that CNBC is subject to. If your platform had been weaponized by the intelligence arm of a foreign government, we'd no longer be on this program. But for some reason, we've decided tech companies aren't subject to a fraction of the scrutiny or the legal liability, or for that matter, just the general responsibility of the Commonwealth that the rest of corporate America is held to. So that the regulation is already there. We just need to enforce it.
Scott, what about if Facebook wants to truly be a utility, a word that Mr. Zuckerberg used a lot with Kara Swisher when she wrote that op-ed in the New York Times, sort of discussing her previous conversations with Zuckerberg? I mean, what does that mean when it comes to regulation if Facebook truly is a utility?
More power to them. Utilities are regulated. Facebook has warmly embraced the margins, the influence, and the celebrity of a media company, but seems allergic to the responsibility. We have an individual who oversees a flock greater than Christianity, who dropped out of college, who's 33, and can never be fired. What could go wrong?